This is Blessed Radio. It's Tuesday evening and it's 6 p.m. This is the spiritual discussion program. I am Saad in Southeast London, and with me in a moment will be Gregory joining us. Welcome, Gregory. Dear listeners, just want to say tonight we're celebrating 9 years of the spiritual discussion program on Blessed Radio. Yes, we've been going on for a weekly for 9 years. So today is actually our 455th show. So it's quite an achievement. I want to let you know, listeners, the show is all about introducing you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. And I'm Saad, and with me as usual is Gregory. Gregory, how are you doing, and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine. The weather is cool now. It's getting cold again, but bright.
Bright and cold. Okay. I can say the same here in London. It's a bit windy, I can see, and overcast. There is the sun as well, but I can see it's overcast as well. So welcome, listeners, to this show. The topic that we have chosen for tonight's show is the World Teacher. The World Teacher. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. There, if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There, and you can type in any questions or comments there. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover, through the intuitive perception, if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we're discussing tonight is the world teacher. The world teacher. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm sure people in the news, listening to the news, will be aware that the Pope Francis has died yesterday, Easter Monday, after celebrating Easter with the Catholic flock in Rome. And so people could say maybe mourning and even remembering, what he stood for. So I send my condolences to you if you are mourning, and also we celebrate the good things that he did for his flock and for humanity. So that also ties in with this topic tonight, the world teacher. Gregory, as you know, I like to look up in the dictionary the meaning of the words in the topic. Well, they're just really 2 key words, world teacher. So let's look at what the dictionary tells us about the meaning of the word world. So the first meaning I found, I think that meaning is by itself enough, really, because the other words meanings are just the same as far as I'm concerned. So this meaning in the dictionary, it says the earth, together with all its countries and peoples. So, Gregory, what do you say about this definition of this word world? Is that suitable for our discussion?
It is marginally suitable and very, very narrow.
Right. Okay. When you say it's narrow, it means there's something, let's say, not missing, you could say, or it should be wider. So what do we want to discuss in this discussion tonight when we are considering this world? What is the world that we are discussing?
The reference, you read out, your definition is referring to the earth. And maybe the contents of the earth. Whereas when the world is mentioned, there are processes that have effect on the earth and its contents, but are not on the earth. They're very far away, like the sun.
So can I say, choose a different word, universe? Would that help? Would that cover the whole world, or is that more than that?
That will be nearer, or one might even mention the material universe, or just the union of all the universes, that's the ones which are perceptible in the world of matter and beyond. Because processes which stream from different parts have an effect on this, what one refers to as the world. So they have to be included.
Right. So I'm thinking what you're saying there, and I'm then thinking people use the word heaven and earth, earth representing the physical universe, let's say. So what about heaven? Is that included in the world, or is that outside of the scope of the word, this phrase word?
For now, it's excluded.
Right.
But most of the time, it is the material, or the world of matter, which, like I just said, the world of matter. So one can see is the world of matter, and the other influences, not in the world of matter, but from outside the world of matter. And subsequently, we will understand why one is extending it.
So I think I'm getting what you're saying. So what is inside this world of matter, and what influences the world of matter is included in this, the word world. So
yeah.
That's so it can be outside of the world of matter, basically, the influences there. Yeah. Right. So we have to include that. So maybe heaven is involved, but maybe heaven is maybe too broad a word. Maybe is that right, Gregory? Or,
yeah. Don't forget, most of these words, unless one tries to view them intuitively, then they become very inadequate. When the words heaven and earth are used, they are only referred to the earth. That means that which is perceptible to the five senses, and the other part which is not perceptible to the five senses, which is the beyond, they now consider to be heaven. For starters, that might be helpful, but for individuals that wish to investigate more, that does not suffice. There is the need to go deeper into all these things to get a better picture.
Okay, so as we go in the discussion, these things will become clearer, and so I won't go any further on it now. So the next word there in the topic is the word teacher. So the next word is teacher. And again, I looked that up in the dictionary. I'm just trying to check, is it all the same meaning, or they sound again all the time very similar. But here we go. The first meaning I found: a person who imparts knowledge to or instructs someone as to how to do something. And they give a couple of examples there. She taught me to read. That is one. Then he taught me to ride a bike. Now, I know, Gregory, we are talking about spiritual matters, so it shouldn't be so basic as that. But anyway, that's what the dictionary meaning examples have given. So let me repeat the meaning of the word teacher: a person who imparts knowledge to or instructs someone as to how to do something. How good is this definition for our discussion, Gregory? Oh, you're on mute, Gregory, you're on mute.
Thanks. It is helpful, but still very narrow, because the teacher might not be a person.
Aha, okay, that's a good point. Right, let me continue. Actually, I had to put that word in because, anyway, let's continue. So I had let me see. Okay, so this is another version of this word teacher, I will say. A person who causes someone to learn, to understand something by example or experience. Is this helpful, Gregory?
Again, that is helpful. Is gradually pointing to what the teacher is.
Good. Because we can say experience as a teacher. It doesn't have to be a person, like you said. Experience
Correct.
as a teacher. We know that phrase. Okay. Another meaning is, again, I have to use the word person because that's what I wrote here. A person who encourages someone to accept something as a fact or principle. What about this one?
Again, helpful, but it's not adequate as such.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there for now. Things will become clear, as I say, as we go further into our discussion. Now this world teacher, some people may know, heard of such a phrase, and others may not. And people will be wondering, oh, what is this world teacher that we have chosen to talk about today? Well, what I can say, I did a bit of research, and the concept of this world teacher, it is in, you could say, many teachings of, let's say, religious teachings, all over the world, and different religions, and they use different words, and so it is under this group of name of the world teacher. I have put it together in that way because they don't always name it as the world teacher. So let me pick a few examples. Now, let me go to Hinduism. So in Hinduism, the concept of a world teacher, also known as Vishwaguru, and Guru is a name of teacher actually in the Indian language, refers to a spiritual leader who guides and inspires humanity towards enlightenment and spiritual liberation. While not a specific individual or deity, the concept encompasses figures like Vishnu, who is seen as the spiritual leader of the universe, and other teachers who have shared wisdom and guidance. The idea of a world teacher reflects the Hindu emphasis on spiritual growth and pursuit of knowledge and wisdom as a path to higher consciousness. So, Gregory, in the beginning we looked at the two words, the world teacher, but when we put it together as the concept of the world teacher, this definition or concept, I should say, in Hinduism, is that, how can I say, how good is that? Is it better than the dictionary meaning?
Whatever is written as such and accepted, some parts of it are helpful, but the essence is what is the essence of the world teacher. The picture it conveys, or the picture it should convey, has not been well mirrored by most of the teachings. Because they are looking at, like you mentioned, talking about the spiritual part. What about the non-spiritual part?
Okay, all right. That's fine. Yes, there's the earthly, you could say, non-spiritual knowledge or picture, understanding, and then there's the spiritual understanding. So yes, and most of the religion, they say they are spiritual. So, and yet they do earthly things, rituals and so on. There's earthly acts as well involved. So I would say most of the teaching cover both aspects, the earthly or non-spiritual and spiritual, as you were saying. I think they do, but it's maybe they focus more on the spiritual, and somehow it might, yeah, when you think of the word world teacher, they're focusing more on the spiritual aspect, I guess. So, but you're saying, I mean, if I just read this part, it said, "Who is seen as this Vishnu is seen as the spiritual leader of the universe." So, universe, of course, is also the physical world. So, I'm trying to reflect on what this definition is covering, and I think overall it probably covers both the earthly and the spiritual world. Just maybe the focus might be more on the spiritual world. I can see that. Okay, let's continue. It's fine. I just wanted to share, because we're talking about the world teacher. So I wanted to go through what the world, what the different things about it has been said. So in these times, over time, and we know there are many civilizations in this on this earth. Very old ones, and well, pretty much everybody's old civilization, I could say. But at different times, they've had you could say, their teachers come to give explanations of this world, you can say. Okay, let's continue. So let me pick another one. So there is a concept in Buddhism, the Maitreya. That's the concept there. I'm just saying this without actually having the direct research in front of me, but I believe Buddha was considered to be one of the world teachers, but they're also expecting, let's say, something to happen still to come, That's actually part of this discussion that we're having, that if there's a world teacher, is it of somebody who's already come or somebody new that is coming? We're going to look at that, you see. It's like a prophecy. Let me look at another one. Okay. There's something, I'm going to a little bit jump here. So something there is in Islam, they're expecting, they call the person the Mahdi. Let me read what I found there. Okay. In Islamic eschatology, the Mahdi is a messianic figure believed to appear before the end of time to restore justice and order on earth. He's seen as a descendant of Muhammad, that's Prophet Muhammad, who will bring peace and righteousness to the world, ushering in a golden age. And just, I think that's fine. So, Gregory, anything to say on that? This prophecy of the Mahdi to come as a messianic figure, who will come at the end of time to restore justice and order on earth and bring peace and righteousness to the world, ushering in a golden age.
That's the picture that's the picture which has been painted through those who made those writings. One thing that has been left out completely is that which is referred to as spirit and that which is referred to as non-spirit, and also the processes which run in the universe, whether it is the material universe or the non-material universe, and all that entails within these universes, how these things can be linked together, the framework that will be used, none of them ever consider that. So most of the teachings only take on something which the real conception of which they do not have, but just echoed what has been written down. So all these teachings lack the firm foundation of the processes in the universe and the contents of the universe, and how these contents and processes, how they interact with each other. These are some of the key things which these teachings have failed to address. But from a human perspective, they have viewed it, and from that which they were able to grasp, they have put this across.
Thanks, Gregory, for your picture there, or explanation there, or let's say assessment of these concepts and prophecies that the teachings have brought. So there seems to be some limitation, is what you're pointing to, in what they. Sometimes I think, Gregory, that the prophecies themselves were, let's say, as they were given thousands of years ago. So that's what the people could understand at that time. They couldn't be so specific as in the world of today with science and so much things that are available today. So if they were to speak very specifically, like you're talking about the processes and so on, maybe the people at that time wouldn't have understood it.
Correct.
So that can make sense, you see. Yeah, because
correct.
Yeah, because as you know, look at science. How much I know it's too much even to think about science, but science tries to explain things. We know that, and the detail. If anybody set that up of detail in those days, 1,000 years ago, nobody will understand a word what they're talking about. So yes, okay, we take everything on board. That's what I would say. Now, let me see. Now, Jesus also talked about the coming. Well, there's Jesus spoke a few references, I can say, about, you could say, the coming of the Son of Man or the Holy Spirit. So I just wanted to read a few of them out. I must admit they can be very long, some of the references. And I thought if I only read a couple of lines, it may not be giving the idea clearly. And also, we know there's some confusion, as we learned last week, in our last week's show, that sometimes when Jesus is talking, the disciples and others who try to understand Jesus misinterpret his prophecy or saying. Sometimes they think it's Jesus talking about himself, when actually he's talking about someone else, which is very, very confusing. If the disciples and those people around Jesus got confused, then how on earth are the rest of us supposed to get clarity? Which is very, very, you could say, troubling. However, I am going to read a couple of references. Let me find one first, because I think that would be helpful. Just looking it up now. Okay, so apologies for taking my time on that a little bit. It's just a short one I would like first. Yes, this is from Luke chapter 21, verses 25 to 36, and is titled, The Coming of the Son of Man. And there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars, and on the earth. And on earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing from fear, and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with the power and great glory. When these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. That's it. That's the phrase from Luke chapter 21, verse 25 to Wait a minute. No, sorry, I haven't finished. That was up to 28. So I'll continue. And this says, titled The Parable of the Fig Tree. Then he spoke to them a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they are already budding, you see and know for yourself that summer is now near. So you also, when you see these things happening, know that the kingdom of God is near. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not by no means pass away. The importance of watching. But take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down with carousing, drunkenness, and cares of this life, and that day come on you unexpectedly, for it will come as a snare on all those who dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch therefore, and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. So this is one of the prophecies that Jesus made about the Son of Man, the coming of the Son of Man. And I want to read one more. Let me just pick that one. So that was Luke chapter 21, verse 25, to 36. And now I want to read from another one, which is, this is from Mark chapter 13, and I'm going to read from verse 3. And this is actually titled, The Destruction of the Temple and the Sign of the End Times. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, Peter, James, and John, Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that they're all about to be fulfilled?" Jesus said to them, "Watch out that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name, claiming I am he, and will deceive many. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in the various places and famines. There are the beginning of birth pains. You must be on your guard. You will be handed over to the local councils and flogged in the synagogues. On account of me, you will stand before governors and kings as witnesses to them. And the gospel must be first preached to all nations. Whenever you are arrested and brought to trial, do not worry beforehand about what to say. Just say whatever is given to you at the time, for it is not you speaking, but the Holy Spirit. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. Everyone will hate you because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you see the abomination that causes desolation standing where it does not belong, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down or enter the house to take anything out. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that this will not take place in winter, because those will be the days of distress, unequaled from the beginning, when God created the world, until now, and never to be equaled again. If the Lord had not cut short those days, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, whom he has chosen, he has shortened them. At that time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "Look, there he is," do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. So be on your guard. I have told you everything ahead of time. But in those days, following that distress, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, people will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory, and he will send his angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heavens. Now learn from this the lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender, its leaves come out. You know that summer is near. Even so, you see these things happening, you know it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. The day and the hour unknown, but about the day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Be on guard. Be alert. You do not know when the time will come. It's like a man going away. He leaves his house and puts his servants in charge, each with their assigned task, and tells the one at the door to keep watch. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back, whether in the evening, at midnight, or when the rooster crows. If suddenly he comes back, do not let him find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to everyone, watch. Gregory, again, that's the prophecy about the Son of Man coming. And so, as I said, these are different phrases or titles that we hear of prophecies of someone to come. As you said, Gregory, earlier, that people have different ideas about these happenings, let's call it. And I guess we really need to realize or understand, what these prophecies really mean. What are they pointing to? So we have pointed out there's something called the world teacher. So Greg, let's go look at that. What is the, you can say, are these references what I've been going through so far? Are there anything connected with the world teacher?
Well, there seem to be pointers. And there are different pointers, although it may not be very clear, but they do point to a personality. The nature of the personality is what has not been revealed through the teachings as such.
Okay, so what we'll do, I just want to have a little break before we continue further about this discussion. I just want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is a spiritual discussion program, and we're actually celebrating 9 years of our show on Bless Radio. And the aim of our show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is the world teacher. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the World Teacher. That's, of course, the topic for today. And after this show, you can listen to a recording of the show exactly the same way on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the World Teacher. And of course, you can listen to the recordings of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number one there. Now, Gregory, I started this show really sort of trying to cover the different areas of prophecies and the concepts of this, the World Teacher. And I want to now, let's say, go directly into that, what exactly is the World Teacher. So, yeah. So, Gregory, yes. Yeah, what exactly is the World Teacher? Is it a person? Is it like Jesus, I know I didn't read all the prophecies that Jesus has made in consent to that. He called Son of Man, he called also the Holy Spirit. He's coming in the cloud. So that's something you could say. It doesn't look like a person then, some being that is coming in the cloud. And, you know, and there may be some other concept that we don't know about. So what exactly, Gregory, is the World Teacher?
First, that word teacher has not, the concept is not well understood. Once that concept is understood, all right, then you will have that the object which is referred to in this case, which is the world, or particularly the world of matter, and all other things that have an influence in the world of matter, that becomes comprehensible, and you have a comprehensive picture. So in considering that, the world of matter and beyond the world of matter, the teacher becomes anyone who is able to point out all the processes within these parts, the world of matter and beyond, and how these processes interact, how they automatically interact with the constituents of this world of matter and beyond. So the key here is how. And the one who points out the how and shows how these things work, that particular person is the teacher. The scope which this teacher deals with is beyond the world, because there are other influences, and he himself or herself or whatever needs to take these into consideration. So the teacher is the one who not only points out and calls things to many to recognize, but also provides a framework which is durable, yet natural, and transcends all this. It is that teacher that is now referred to as a world teacher, because he himself or herself, or whatever one may care to call, presents that framework, and from that framework is able to point to all the processes and the objects that are involved in this so-called world of matter or world, and the relationships they have between the source of power that ensure that there is motion. So you have motion, you have power, you now have the constituents. These constituents may be referred to as the substances. However, these constituents and the power that streams to activate, to ensure that these constituents are in motion, it is, or it has to be, that it is not arbitrary, but must be consistent with the laws of creation or the laws of nature. Because when world of matter is discussed, there is the picture that gives that it is natural. So there must be a framework of nature, that framework which is referred to as the laws of nature or the laws of creation. So the three key parts will be, number one, the power that streams through all this. The second key part is the substances, which, to be brief, one may refer to as substantialities. And the third key part will be that the motion, which one may refer to as the laws, which ensure that this motion the motion of the substances of the substantiates of all those that are involved within. These are harmonious, just like you have with the laws of nature or the laws or the divine laws. One can already see these three parts. These have to be united. That is the task in the most simple form, which the teacher will present to man or the constituents and shows how these things work. And that's why he's the teacher.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer and picture you're painting for us about the world teacher, or the task of the world teacher to explain, you could say, like you said, the processes in this world that we are living in, and then the laws. You said laws of creation. I was going to summarize it as life, how life works in this world that we live in. Now, when you was talking, I started to think, oh, is that what science is all about? It explains things, I know it doesn't know all the answers, but it tries to investigate and come with explanations or understanding of the processes involved. So is this world teacher going to be I was going to use the word scientist, or is he going to give scientific explanation to give us an understanding of this world, the life in this world? Or is there something different than that?
Sorry.
Oh.
I was on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
First, the need is there to clarify what science does. Science observes what happens in nature and consequently or subsequently builds up a model to explain what happens in nature. And it only deals with that which is perceptible to it. Anything which is not perceptible to it is unable to bring into that modeling. For instance, with those things that are perceptible using the five senses, it's able to draw models. As things move deeper within our thoughts, it's unable to draw any consistent model. It's what it's able to see physically that it talks about. And moving further, considering one's intuition, science is unable to go there because the tools available to it cannot help. Therefore, one may not say that science will provide all the answers, but it can, in its own limitation, elucidate using its own models that it has in the observations in the observables it has found in nature. So that is the limitation of science, whereas the world teacher doesn't need to do that. It uses the laws of creation, which laws of creation or laws of nature have been present ever before man even came into existence, even before so-called science came into existence. So you find that to consider that the world teacher is going to be a man of science is, one may say, belittling the tasks which we have, or the tasks which the world teacher has to deal with. It is much, much more than that. The world teacher will not only explain what the laws of nature, the laws of creation, or the divine laws are, but will show how these laws combine with the power that stream from the source, and that this power is one, and the constituents. By the constituents, one is referring to the substances, or that which is substantiate, that which can take on form, which is way, way above the conception of the human personality to grasp. At the same time, it will examine what these laws are. It will weigh. There's the thorough explanation showing where things started from, where things go, and how everything fits together. Only subsequently, for some who are capable of it, only then are they able, after some time, to understand aright, in accordance with the simplicities of the laws which have woven creation. For nature is a part of creation. And whenever the world of matter is, or the earth is mentioned, that belongs to the world of matter. So the task of the world teacher is more sublime than had been considered so far. It is deep. Now, it is only through his works that the individual is able to understand whom the world teacher is. For very simply, by their works, we shall know them. But that calls for deep reflection, that calls for weighing whatever the world teacher puts across. That calls for examining whatever the world teacher puts across. But this examination and this weighing is not done in an arbitrary manner. It's done within the laws of nature, within the laws of creation, through which all that exists rests.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this picture that you're painting about the world teacher and you could say, the knowledge he is bringing. We're using the word he in a global way, and we'll keep going further into this discussion about the world teacher in a moment. So, yes, so we are being basically, I was asking about whether the world teacher is going to explain in a scientific way, and what you've said is it's more than that. It's not about science as such, because this is like a world knowledge about this world, and science only looks at an aspect of the world in a particular way. Even as you said, it's like a model. You try to explain things that way, but it doesn't. It's still limited in its scope of what you could say the real, true, full knowledge of the world is. It's too narrow, you can say, as well. In science, maybe looking mostly at material things, or what can be visible to the five senses, maybe at the most, and not something that is beyond the five senses, which also exists. So you can see that it's not an incomplete knowledge there. So yes, so we are going to continue to learn to know more about this world teacher and the knowledge or teaching that the world teacher is bringing. Now, dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. And we are celebrating 9 years of broadcasting on Bless Radio. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. If you want to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is the world teacher. The world teacher. If you have any questions or comments, you can join us on our UK number. Contact us through our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I've said, we are broadcasting on blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space. The topic for the show tonight is the world teacher. And also you can listen to a recording of this show after the show tonight, again on YouTube. You just do the same thing to find it, this show. Go to youtube.com and in the search box type Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, and space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which is the world teacher. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows as well on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there. Now, Gregory, we're trying to realize what the teaching or the world, the teaching, okay, so the knowledge the world teacher is bringing. We know, you could say it is about the world we live, yes, the physical world, and what influences the physical world. I could describe it as giving us a structure, a framework, as you said, Gregory. It's a framework. It explains, gives us that framework, which is the laws of nature and the different worlds that are in this, well, let's call it in a simple way, creation. There are different spheres in this creation. We know they're very familiar with the physical world, the matter, world of matter, but then there's the world beyond this world of matter, which we will not go into specifically too much today, but that world also exists, and that we need to be aware of as well. And Gregory, you've been pointing out, because it's not physical, yes, we have our 5 senses, which are physical, and so we see, with those 5 senses we can observe or sense the physical world. But that, as we have said, is not the whole world. That's not the only world, let's say. There is the world in the beyond, and so we need something to allow us to be able to connect or to see, if I can say, this world of the beyond. And so, Gregory, let's talk about that. What is it that allows us to sense or to become aware of the world of the beyond? Because you've already mentioned science. Science is not able to do that. It only can do the physical world, look at the physical world. So what is it, Gregory, that we are able, with what can we examine or see this non-physical world? Let's call it the beyond to make it simple for our discussion.
Science uses the intellect, man's intellect, to collect information, do the analysis, and sometimes do some prediction. That which is beyond science, that means that which is way beyond the capabilities of science, that is also beyond the perceptive capability of the intellect. And that is the intuition of the individual. So, to explore further the happenings which are beyond the capacity or the capabilities of science, one must refer to the intuitive perception of the individual. Which intuitive perception is, or the source is, from the deep sensing, or it has its effect from the deep sensing of the individual, the core being that of spirit. So to be able to walk outside the intellect, which is what those who have dropped their physical body, those are referred to as the dead people. They do not have intellect anymore, but they still have that intrinsic capability of the intuitive perception because they have spirit. And that is what they utilize in or for their further experiencing.
Thanks a lot for that answer there, Gregory. Now, this intuition, I'm thinking, let's say we have questions in our life, and I'm trying to think what sort of question I might like to ask or consider. You mentioned that this intuition works beyond this physical world, and when we pass on, it is there, active there, but our brain, our intellect, doesn't continue in this world of the beyond. So there's something, it looks like, either we are connected, Gregory, with the beyond, or maybe we have something with us on earth that allows us to connect with the beyond. So I'm just thinking, this, I think you referred to that as spirit, actually, if I remember what you were saying. So Gregory, let's look at us as a human being. What exactly is the human being? Is it, we have the body, we have the brain, and some people say we have a soul or spirit. People say these things, and but then we're still wondering what is the, you could say, well, what is our purpose and what are we, where do we come from? Because I think people do wonder. Yes, we know we are born from our parents onto this earth, and then yes, we live our life on this earth, and then we die, but there's a question. Okay, what happens? Do we exist beyond this death? Did we exist before we were born on this earth? And no, science is not able to answer, which we understand because it only looks at the material world. So, Gregory, does it mean, Gregory, that we humans are, how can I say, consisting of material, world of matter, and non-matter? It looks like we have both within us. So could you please give us a more understanding about that?
Thanks for that question. The individual that is referred to as man, it comprises of that which is perceptible externally, which is flesh and blood that flows within the flesh, and that which activates the flesh and blood. So there are two parts. The flesh and blood is activated by, one may call it, an energy bundle for that which is referred to as energy is spirit. But the spirit referred to, that is the energy referred to, is that which is capable of consciousness or self-consciousness. That being the case, through its activities of the spirit, it is able to have an impact on the individual that has the flesh and blood. So, strictly speaking, the individual that we see consists of the spirit, which spirit has various covering before finally you have the external that is perceptible of flesh and blood, which is referred to as the body. These are taken as the facts. Why? Because in the first case, that which is perceptible to us using the five senses is that of flesh and blood. That is undeniable. But the question then becomes, what activates that which is of flesh and blood in different individuals? Because different individuals have different behavior. There must be features. Which feature has an impact, has an impression? That impression, the origin of that impression must be from somewhere. And basically, that impression is from the spirit. So these two facts, where that impression emerges from, which impression is more of a wave, which impression has an impact on that of flesh and blood, that of flesh and blood which can be weighed. Many sometimes refer to it as a particle. To some extent, the observables of the observations in science have come to some near recognition. And therefore you hear of all sorts of so-called scientific theories which are repeatable. And they talk about the duality. Of course, that is referred to as man on earth as an individual is a duality. The duality, in quotes, the union of the spirit with the physical body, which is perceptible to others. The spirit is not perceptible to the physical eyes or the physical senses of the individual, because its vibrations are much, much finer than the vibrations of the body of flesh and blood. One may also give some very crude examples. Whenever, like, we have our communications between the radio and the physical system, the vibrations are finer but have an impact on the set. By set, look at, very simply, look at your phone. You can hold your phone, go into the house, and yet the waves which stream out from the universe, if the vibrations are harmonious, or if those vibrations resonate with the vibrations of the phone, you are able to pick, the signal, you are able to interpret it. That is a very crude example. But basically, man on earth is only a product of the spirit, which spirit has many other bodies before it's able to influence the body of flesh and blood. So when one considers carefully that when the human personality incarnates, in the case of being born on earth, first there is the need for that personality to get used to the body which it has taken over, to train of it, such that when it has been born, it will continue to make use of it to experience, to be able to partake of the experiences here on earth. Else, there's no way it can do that, because that which is of spirit, like a wave, will pass through and will have no impact. However, if it has a physical body which has been tuned to it from birth, it's able to use that physical body to gather experiences. Because it had already existed before the physical body was formed for it in the mother's womb, when the time comes when the physical body becomes exhausted due to activities over the years, there comes a time when that physical body, which has been pulled together, where that physical body will start to becoming very weak, and that which is of spirit gradually will start severing itself. In the case of severing itself, the body becomes weaker, and before too long, the spirit withdraws, and no more sense radiation that activates the physical body. That is the process which is called death. One can already see that the personality which is of spirit already existed, has a source. It has only come in here to experience, to grow, and to mature the experiences of the earth, which are also helpful to it, such that when it has matured enough, in accordance with the laws that permitted it to first incarnate, in accordance with these laws which first permitted it to come into existence, when through its activities it has become conscious and has taken the form of man, the structure of man as we know it, and has subsequently become self-conscious. It means those innate features, those skills which have been sown into it, it has permitted them to grow in accordance with these same laws. It's the human personality has matured to that extent, just as others were able to assist it in one for all and all for one in maturity in order to become conscious. It's the human spirit back in its source, the paradise of man, is able to be of assistance like a teacher, sending strong impressions to guide, just as it itself was guided by those back in its source of origin who are self-conscious. So, like the world teacher, he or she is able to contribute his bit, and it continues.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this explanation about how we human beings, what we human beings are, and how we, you could say, operate with our abilities. We have the physical part, the body, the brain, our senses, 5 senses, and then we have the spiritual part, the intuition, non-material part, which relates to the, as you said, spirit in the human is about consciousness or self-consciousness, and so that is, you could say, the one that is driving, that's the spirit I mean, driving us human beings on this earth, or at least that is how it is meant to be. But now, Gregory, let me ask this in a minute let me ask this in a minute. I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. We are celebrating our 9-year anniversary today on Bless Radio. Yes, we've been doing this show every week for 9 years. And the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. The topic that we're discussing tonight is the world teacher. You are welcome. Before I say carry on, I just wanted to say, if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is the world teacher. If you have any questions or comments about this topic, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. There's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show tonight, which is the World Teacher. After the show, you can listen to a recording of this show exactly the same way. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space, Grail Message, space, the World Teacher. And of course, you can listen to recordings of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number 1 there. Now, Gregory, this knowledge that we are sharing with the listeners about the teaching of the world, you can say, or teaching about life, you could say, or our human life and what is connected with it. It's supposed to come, well, let's say let's say there's a number of prophecies of someone to come, you could say, who is supposed to guide us into, let's say, this knowledge. We know there are differences in them, these prophecies, so it can be a bit confusing or not clear, because the different people have prophesied this happening. And so I wanted to a little bit look at that now, Gregory. Now, Gregory, this world teacher, how are we human beings supposed to recognize that the person, we haven't said is he or she, but it doesn't matter that one at the moment. What matters is, how do we come to recognize that there is the world? Let me ask another firstly. Has the world teacher already arrived, or are we just meant to, so is it known that he's here, or he or she is here, or are we still looking for the world teacher to come? What is there any idea about that, or is that supposed to happen, or has happened?
Carefully, maybe the first question should have been, how can we recognize him? What or her? What features are we expecting? Is it going to be just flash of light? Or is the world teacher take the form of the individual, of man that we know? Or it's going to be like an eagle? Again, the answer which had been put forward by Christ becomes very pertinent and clear. By their works. By their works, the individual who is discerning, who is seeking diligently, is able to recognize him, to know. For how can one recognize or know in the works like we have now, in the work in the light of truth, the Grail Message? The need is there first to weigh. At the same time, to examine. But the weighing and the examining is not done in an arbitrary manner, but is done in accordance with the laws of nature, the laws of creation, through which each individual, through which all that exists came into existence. That becomes very clear. Only on that basis can the individual weigh or examine. In the process of weighing or an examination, which weighing and examination is an activity in itself, that process, an activity in motion, that process, an activity in motion, which motion is of two types. The first type is that motion in which the end of the motion flows back to the beginning. And the second type, the end of the motion does not flow back to the beginning. With that, all that is referred to as science is concluded. With that, the laws of nature, of creation, are completely elucidated. That an individual in its activities is weighing and examining not only with his or her intellect, not only with his or her thoughts, but also with his or her intuitions. Such a personality uses the power which lies or which streams through creation, is able to use this power as the source, what has streamed to him or her. And it should be able subsequently, in the process of engaging with whatever it has found there, to draw conclusions as long as it is awake. To be awake means that individual is not asleep. For only those who are awake in their intuitions, in their thoughts, and in their deeds, only those are capable of weighing and examining and subsequently coming to a recognition. For the features of cognition should be present in that which they are weighing and examining. For in the process of examination, there will be self-consistency. It means that that which is weighed and examined is not inconsistent with itself. For Christ made it very clear, a house divided against itself cannot stand. But creation stands. Nature stands. We come in and go, and it's still there. So Nature is consistent. Creation is consistent. The effort which the individual puts in there become helpful when it's able to come to recognition. To come to recognition of one, that he or she is not the only one in creation. There are others. 2, that being others, and there are others in creation, there's a need to work together so as to support one another. 3, there is the also realization that power that streams in creation has a source. It is its task to strive after, to strive towards the source, such that through its striving, it will come to recognize the purpose of why that power has streamed to himself or herself, and how to use it. For if that power is used right, that means it makes use of it, and its recognition, it passes on to others to assist them. Just as it has done that, there are also others who stand higher than the individual, who will pass on the streams and the recognitions they have had, because the individual has made room to be able to make use of that which streams out. Makes use of that which streams out because it has used that which it has recognized and pass it on to others. These are the processes which the individual must recognize. And in due course, in the process of coming from the cognitions of that which are perceptible to the recognitions, it's as if it's opening up until it gets back home to its origin, because it has set out from there a process of experiencing or learning where it becomes self-conscious and is able to be of assistance to others, and also to others near to him or far from him. So the tasks of the individual, the tasks of the human spirits are simple, but it has to bestir itself to experience.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this, again, the explanation you've given about recognizing the world teacher, and you could say the big role we human beings, or those who wish to know about the world, what we have to do. It's not a one-way process that somebody gives us knowledge and then we just follow it, almost like blindly. No, we have to absorb it, understand it. Yes, appreciate it first, of course, take it in, absorb it, as I said, and then we have to, you could say, evaluate it for ourselves to see if it makes sense logically, and that way we can see if it's true or not true. One of the part of the prophecy of Jesus talking about this coming, he didn't call the person world teacher, but let's say called the Son of Man or the Holy Spirit that is to come, and the way he, he gave it this. One of the key things he said is to watch. You do not know the time when it will arrive. I was asking about that. Has the world teacher arrived, or is it still to come? He or she is still to come, and Jesus answered that, saying that only the Father knows, not even the Son knows. And the key thing is that you must watch, keep your eyes open to await when he or she comes, this world teacher, or the Son of Man, as Jesus was putting it, right? And he gave some clues what would be happening at the time, which is like quite a devastating experience for mankind, disasters, you can say, and nation fighting against nation, and so on and so on. So you could say, if you look at the world history, you might be able to say, oh, I can relate to that. These things have happened, or maybe people still think there could be something worse to come that has not yet happened here. So all these are clues, you can say.
Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Go on.
Actually, well, it's good you mentioned these clues. One thing I did not add was when one says, oh, he hasn't yet, or the world teacher hasn't arrived, hasn't come yet, then many will go to bed. And that means the vigilance which is demanded of them, the vigilance and alertness, will dwindle, because they will tell you, oh, the time hasn't yet come. When you now say the world teacher is around, then they turn the other way. It becomes feverish activities, feverish, exaggerated activities. Both of those feverish, exaggerated activity and the other side where one does nothing, those ones do not resonate with the laws of creation or the laws of nature. For in that case, you will find that the individual that's engaged in such activities will move from one error to another. However, should any individual be discerning as to the nature of the world teacher or the Son of Man, let that person be bold enough to examine and weigh thoroughly the work in the light of truth, the Grail Message. There, all that the individual may need here on earth or hereafter is provided in such simple steps that automatically the individual will come to know who the world teacher is, who the Son of Man is. And such questions will no longer arise because that individual that has come to that recognition will be filled with joy and happiness and will take giant steps towards its maturity. That is why the individual must make the effort to weigh and examine, for only that will permit the individual fine and finer recognition.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for making those points. Yes, that's why we keep saying at every, whenever I read from the Grail Message at the end of the show, weigh and examine is the big line, you can say, that each of us have the responsibility to do that. Whatever we come across, we must weigh and examine it, because it is not that somebody is trying to convince you or convert you, or whatever the term that people might try to use. You are meant to recognize these things with your own ability. Then you are fully responsible for your decision that you make. You know, the whole point of what we are sharing is that we human beings are meant to be conscious, or even more correctly, to become self-conscious. You know, not blind faith, following some blind faith or somebody's opinion. We ourselves examine, and then we can say, yes, we know this is true or not true, rather than become dependent on somebody else's words and things that maybe we have adopted or been taught from the past and just accepted it, you know, without questioning. This is really important. Why this is how our spirit is meant to work and operate and become alive. The idea is to become alive, not a blind believer, whatever that is, you know, that might be. So that's really important that we come to realize that. Yes, and so we repeatedly urge that examine for yourself, not believe what we say or follow just what we say, but you actually check it for yourself. Yes. Now, there's something I would like to just read briefly. There is actually a lecture in the Grail Message titled The World Teacher. And that is how you could say the inspiration of tonight's topic came about. I'm only going to read you could say the first paragraph. First or second paragraph, because that is quite, how can I say, insightful. He is called the world teacher, not because he is to teach the world and will perhaps found a religion that unites the world, or more specifically the earth, or better still, humanity on earth, or that holds sway over the earth. But he is called the world teacher because he explains the world and brings the teaching about the world, that which man really must know. He teaches how to recognize the world in its automatic activity, so that Earthman may adjust himself accordingly and thereby be able consciously to ascend in the recognition of the actual laws of the world. Thus, it is really a question of cosmology, of instruction about the world, about creation. So that's what I've just read there, listeners, is the beginning paragraph, of the first paragraph of the lecture in the Grail Message, which is titled The World Teacher. And I think it's very, in this one paragraph alone, everything is made clear, what is to be expected of the world teacher, you could say the mission of the world teacher, and how to recognize it. The teacher and the teaching, because it's the teaching that is more important than the teacher, because that's what you have to, if you wish to examine, that is what you're going to be making an understanding of. And if it makes sense for you, then of course you can go ahead and follow that or take it on, if I can think of another way of saying it. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'd like to say there. And actually, we've now come to the end of our show tonight on the topic of the world teacher. And I hope you've enjoyed the discussion. We've tried to cover, you could say, the things that have been said about it from the past by different parts of the world, in different parts of the world, what has been said, what is to be expected. And then our show, we've tried to point out, really it is your responsibility to examine everything. We don't say follow this or follow that, but check and examine everything, and then you can weigh it as well. That way, as I say, you are fully responsible for your own decision. Now I'm going to finish it as I like to do from the Grail Message again. The foreword of the Grail Message, which is titled For Your Guidance. The bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this in the form of ready-made opinions of others only walks his path as if on crutches while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aprushin. Now, dear listeners, if you wish to want to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And yes, Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic. Good night and God bless.